Thank you so much for joining us for our series of virtual in-conversation events. We are incredibly grateful to all of the creatives and artists who shared their time, their wisdom and their experience with us. It's easy to ask in the face of a global pandemic, why do the arts matter? But the truth is that theatre is as old as civilization itself. It's a place where we learn, we explore, and we share our common humanity. It's a pressure valve for society, a safe space in which to explore dangerous ideas. And above all, it's entertaining. At Dark Unicorn Productions, we rely very heavily on the support of our wonderful patrons to continue our work. You can join them and become a patron of the arts yourself by joining our scheme, which starts at just £50 per year to become a rainbow unicorn. Be part of the Dark Unicorn family. Be part of the recovery and the future of theatre. Don't let the lights go out. Become a patron today. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome back to Dark Unicorn in Conversation. My guest today is a character actor, director, producer across theatre, film and television, who has portrayed a number of endearing and charming roles across her now 10-year career. From playing the nurse to a feisty bunch of well-loved actors in the indie horror film Cockneys vs. Zombies, through to appearances on things like Call the Midwife, and a variety of theatre credits. She is perhaps best known to an international audience for her 3 seasons on Game of Thrones, playing Roose Bolton's new wife, Walda, née Frey, who unfortunately got on the wrong side of stepson Ramsay. Her name is Elizabeth Webster, and as we sat down to talk, we discussed a key moment in her early career as we started our chat. Liz, the first day I met you, you told me that you had a moment in your life where you believed that Honor Blackman thought you were a twat. Would you like to share that tale with the viewers?
Oh my goodness. Oh, yes. Yes, I'm fairly certain. Oh, and you know, recently gone as well, which is just heart-rending. Yeah, absolutely. There was this moment. So in Cockneys versus Zombies, which was one of my first. Well, it was my first feature film. I may have lied there. One should know their CV, really, shouldn't they? That's slightly embarrassing. It's possible that Frequencies was my first feature film, but Cockneys vs. Zombies, I suppose you could say my first feature film of significance. I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to work with these brilliant older actors who had been a staple of my childhood, and Honor Blackman was completely and utterly a complete fangirl over Honor Blackman. You know, when thinking about acting careers and whatever, that would be one that you would aspire to, and definitely. And for me, the sitcom that she was in with
The Upper Hand.
Yes, thank you. My brains fell out of my head then. I can only remember the American version, or the only name of the American one. But yeah, so The Upper Hand was just, loved that, loved her, loved everything about it. It was, you know, one of those things. So yes, there's this comes this moment in filming when the direction I was given is wait for Honor, and it would appear that the direction that Honor was given was wait for that actress over there. And yeah, so there we were, scene started, action is called, I'm, you know, looking, waiting, and I suspect she's doing the same the other side, looking, waiting, and neither of us move. And then everything stops, and and somebody goes over and speaks to Honor Blackman, and then the first comes and speaks to me and says, so you have to go first. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, the instruction I was given was wait for Honor. That's not right. No, that's not right. No, you go. Right, okay, I will go. And then about 2 minutes later, the first comes over and goes, actually, Liz, that last thing sorry, my mistake. You wait for Honor. Honor's going first, and then it will be you. Okay? Yeah, fine, lovely, fine. Okay, so go back to the original. Great. Camera starts rolling again. Scene starts going. I'm looking over in Honor's direction. I assume she's looking over in my direction, and nobody moves. And then it all shuts down again. And at this point, my heart is in my mouth, because you know what it's like when something's not going right and you're not sure if it's your fault or not. And yes, so it all got worked out in the end, and as it turns out, I was going first, and that was all fine. Third time's a charm. We got it. It was great. It was wonderful. My first opportunity to properly speak to Honor Blackman then is when we're sat in the green room, waiting, as you do quite a lot of, and I couldn't help myself. I had to go over and apologise and say that I was so sorry, that I thought there was a misunderstanding. I felt like I had to explain to one of my biggest heroes that I'm not a twat. It's not, dear Honor, I'm not a twat. Really, I'm not. I didn't swear in front of Honor Blackman. You'll be very proud of me.
And was she good about it?
Oh, yes, completely and utterly gracious, as one would expect. But then she'd been doing it for such a long time. That can't be the first time an inexperienced actor had apparently made a mess up on it. But yeah, she was very gracious about it, which just made me love her more.
I'm quite sure she was that actress at one point. When did you? This is how I always phrase this question with people, because I always think there's a sort of an element of almost genetics about it, really. When did you realise you were a performer?
Good question, Paddy. When did I realise I was a performer? It's making me laugh because of trying to think of my earliest memory of doing anything sort of performer related, and because all of that side of things came about because my big brother was incredibly, he's not dead, he's perfectly alive, it is very creative. It's just he never went into a creative, well, I suppose he did, he's a teacher, but he started, certainly when we were children, his love was film and television and making film and television. So he's 7 years older than me as well, so by the time I was sort of useful to him in a let's make a short film sense, I suppose I was probably 5, maybe 5 or 6. It was I don't know if it sounds horribly pretentious to say, it was I felt a kinship with Drew Barrymore in E.T. quite a lot. When I think about my relationship with my brother when we were, certainly when I was quite little, in that sense. So yeah, I mean, yes, from a very young age, I would say, from a very young age. I mean, I started performing at I started going to drama classes at 6, when I was 6, because apparently, I don't quite remember this. I mean, I know that my brother went to drama classes because he's dyslexic, and at the time his educational therapist suggested to my parents to help him build confidence and whatever, to get him into a drama club. So they did that, and of course every Friday night I went, diligently along to collect him after his drama club, and just loved it. When you turn up and they've not finished what they're doing, and you're seeing all these other kids having a wonderful time doing all these fun things, I say you want to be a part of it. I'm sure there are people who don't want to be a part of it, but I certainly did want to be a part of it. And so apparently I begged and begged and begged and begged and begged, and by all accounts I was extremely cute and utterly charming, and the drama teacher had felt that she had no choice but to acquiesce to my request to to please join the drama club early, because she didn't take anybody before they were 7. She took me.
You have been talking yourself into rooms from the age of 6. It's a lesson,
and swiftly out of them again.
a lesson to all of us, though, isn't it? And because I mean, did your parents have any sort of creative outlet? Or was this a completely alien landscape to them?
I don't think completely alien. Certainly not my. I don't get it from nowhere. You're quite right, Paddy. You're quite right. I don't get it from nowhere. I would say that it's my father that I get it from rather than my mother. But both my parents, yes, very creative. My mum particularly had always had lots and lots of ideas. Big, what in the corporate world they call blue sky thinking. Very much so. My dad more of a showman. My dad more the peacocking side of it. And not that he's not a big thinker, he is a big thinker, but yes, he certainly loves a performance. He does.
So the two sort of combine. You had a period where, by your own admission, sort of life got in the way, and you came back to formal actor training a smidgen later than some.
That's been kind, Paddy.
You weren't that old when you went back to actor training, were you? I mean, it was 2000. When did you go? In 2005?
26. 26, I think.
26. Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
This is the bit where my researchers let me down, and therefore I will edit it so we all look good. Because I thought you were born in the early 80s and went in at 25.
Yes, I did. Yes. So I think 2005 I would have been 24.
Yeah.
And so I think I finished training.
Finished when you were 26. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, 26, 27, yeah, when I officially launched a professional career attempt.
When you unveiled your brand.
Yes.
Yeah,
if only I'd known back then that that's what I needed to do.
Well, what I was going to ask was, do you think would-be actors benefit from getting a bit of life experience before they undergo all the conservatoire sort of training?
I don't know about that, because I think about child actors, kid actors. I think about Dakota Fanning. How and Millie Bobby Brown. How do they know how to do those things that they do at that age? My jaw is on the floor about that. So I don't know. I suppose the joyful thing, or one of the joyful things, there are many joyful things about being an actor, but one of the joyful things about being an actor is that it allows you your individuality. in a way that not very many other careers will allow you. So whatever age you come to it, however you come to it, whatever you've got to bring to it is just as valuable, whether you're 8 years old or 28 years old. I suppose from the point of view of casting, I mean, the irony being that I've never been cast in a corporate role, as it were. So that bit where life got in the way, those skills that I've got, those experiences that I've had in a corporate environment, predominantly change management, that I've never had cause to draw on those for a role, because I've never been cast as the CEO or I suppose those transferable, the way a character is, those transferable skills, being organised and efficient and professional. So none of those roles, lawyer, doctor, none of those roles have ever come my way. So I don't know how much my prior career has informed my acting career, as it were. I don't know.
It's being a project manager in the world of strategic change doesn't, I suppose, it's maybe there are sub elements of it that prepare you for being an angry lesbian on her wedding day, or
Excuse me?
First, you make us feel unwelcome with your snide homophobic remarks.
Oh, Emma, I swear to God, Alison is not homophobic. She was just born in a different era.
Then, we are made to take our vows in a sauna.
Late 50s.
Yeah. Then, you drag us out here, feed us horse meat and what I can only describe as undistilled battery acid. How would you feel if this was your wedding day?
Oh, she's not married.
All right, your daughter's wedding day.
She hasn't even got a boyfriend.
Look, you knew full well that this was our first wedding and there would inevitably be teeth in trouble.
After that welcoming drink, I can hardly feel my teeth.
Was she angry? I think she was just disappointed.
Well, disappointed. I don't mean angry in a negative way. This won't make the cut. I was just rewatching. I'd forgotten about that. It was just I was rewatching your show reels, so it just, being very forthright with Rebecca Frum.
Yes, I suppose so. Being assertive and standing one's ground. Yes, I suppose I'd learn. Yes, I could bring that to the table from the strategic change management point of view. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that in terms of casting like that, yeah, absolutely. Some of that life experience, but what I look like physically doesn't kind of match up to the experience that I can bring, really. So I wonder about that. Perhaps one day, you never know, perhaps one day I will get cast as the lawyer or the doctor or the CEO. Who knows?
I hope so. You have
perhaps one day.
You have the gravitas. That's the you've got a good voice.
Well, thank you very much.
When you put
very lovely of you to say so.
Power behind that. That and the you've got. I could see as a CEO. Maybe we just have to make it happen for ourselves, Liz. Maybe I'll just have to create something where I can cast you as a CEO.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, this is a big thing, isn't it? It's been a big debate for a really long time. If you're not getting what you want from what's available, then make it.
Make it.
And I kind of agree with that. I think about there are lots of people out there who've made their own work, and I think that's one of the. It's not upsetting. Upsetting is the wrong word to use, but one of the things that, in terms of how we look at success in this particular industry, when you are an actor, you are front of house, aren't you? You are the face of the thing that you are doing, and it's what people know you to be. You're front of house, and it's that idea that if you're not front of house, you're not doing but I think the reality is a creative life. I mean, you know, look at you and all of the pies that you've got your fingers in. living a creative life. You know, the front of house element, for me, the front of house element is just a part of that, or has just been a part of that. The biggest part, absolutely. But you know, much like you, I've well, you're not dabbling in production, you are full on, like, submerged in up to your neck. But yes, so in the past, I think living a creative life, being a creative person, my best outlet for that, the thing I'm known best for, is the front of house stuff. But there are lots of things that I have done and continue to do, slightly waylaid again by life, as you know, at this particular juncture. But I can absolutely see a future where, yeah, I may very well, yeah, I may very well do something. I'm almost certain that I've got producing a film in me, and that's something that I would, you know, love to do. It's on the bucket list. Theatre, again, you know, particularly the short form of theatre, is something that I love very much.
Well, that brings me on to what I was going to ask you next, actually, which was that you have spanned, your career has spanned most forms of performing art in some way or another: theatre, film, television, the lot. Is there one of those that you have to sneakily admit is your favourite, and if so, what is it about that draws you more to it?
It's short form theatre. So short theatre, short play festivals particularly, I love watching them, and I love being in them. And the reason for that is because you is it wrong to say ADHD? It's not, of a particular type, you know. It's the stimulation factor. It's not that I can't do the long form, it's not that I don't enjoy the long form, but for me, the stimulation that comes with change. I mean, perhaps that's why previously I was a change manager, because change is something that attracts me and draws me, you know. Ruminating so much, you know, particularly recently with everything that's been going on about the human condition, you know, human what we call human nature sometimes. That idea that our biggest strength is also our greatest weakness, and that is our ability to change.
Now, of course, you spent a period of your life attached to one of the minor TV successes of the recent past in the form of Game of Thrones.
Little show.
Little show. You might have picked it up on cable if you were in a hotel. But you were in 3 seasons of that, playing Walda Bolton, née Frey.
It must be difficult for you, being in a strange place.
This isn't a strange place, this is my home. It's the people who are strange.
Where is Lord Bolton?
I am Lord Bolton.
Ramsay, please. I'll leave Winterfell. I'll go back to the Riverlands. Please. Ramsay. He's your brother.
What do you gain and what do you lose when you become irrevocably attached to a major franchise?
You gain a level of connection that I can't really describe, actually. When I think about what that brought into my world, into my universe, in terms of attending the Comic Cons, the first Comic Con that I was invited to do, I was so scared to do it, so scared, because it's not because you don't have the character to hide behind. You are being you are giving people access to you, which is part and parcel of the job, especially at that level. And that's one of the biggest gains, is that you get to experience. I have been afforded the gift of experiencing on a much shorter and much smaller scale, but I've been able to experience what it is like to be a conventionally successful actor who is sought out by the people who love the thing that they are in and the thing that they do and the world that they, this creative life that we talk about. I've been able to experience a side of it that I wouldn't have without Thrones. And I have to say, although I was so scared that first Comic Con, it was the most wonderful experience. I mean, it was at Wales Comic Con in Wrexham, and they're known to be absolutely brilliant people. The organisers are known to be brilliant, and they really were. But the fans were wonderful, and it gives you being an actor can be quite nomadic, especially if you're a jobbing actor, and especially if you haven't hit on being a regular in something, or if you're working at the level that I work at, it's quite nomadic, and you quite often the things that you do you don't feel connected to. But with Thrones, because of everything around it, yeah, I do, and that is something that's going to stay with me. So, and that's a massive gain. That's a massive gain. What do you lose? Again, I think it's different for the levels. For me, to a certain extent, you lose the ability to weather rejection quite as well as you might have done before, and certainly handling the expectations of other people, and and managing that, because I'm sure that it happens in lots of other areas of life. I'm sure that it doesn't just happen to actors, but certainly you lose the ability to be judged on your own merit. There are already expectations of you, and that's not just in terms of what of the normal process of getting another job after that one, but also everybody who is in your life suddenly has expectations, and one can feel that quite acutely.
Obviously, your character Walda had a set character arc within that storyline, and met an untimely end. I think we're probably far enough along from that having been broadcast for that not to be a major spoiler alert. I suppose two questions rise out of that for me. Firstly, does a finite time on a major series appeal more to you than, say, the prospect of having the blessing and curse of a series regular role on a continuing drama, say? And secondly, have you visited any good kennels recently?
Oh, Paddy, did I hear that right? Have I visited any good
kennels recently?
Yes. I thought that was what you said. Oh gosh. No is the answer to that, and the reason that I haven't visited any good kennels recently is because I'm afraid I will come back with a handful of puppies. Because I wouldn't be able to resist. Yes, despite the murky end, I am very much an animal lover, and very much a lover of the dog form. Even those dogs were adorable, despite being incredibly scary. Yeah, and what was the first question?
Does having a finite time on a major series appeal more to you than having a series regular role on a continuing series?
I can see how it would be appealing. I can. For me personally, this theme that often comes back with me about stimulation and needing change and needing different, I can see how that then does appeal. But for me, having done that to a certain extent, the opportunity to experience what it's like to be lead cast or regular cast is something that would, another bucket list item. When you think about what you would like to achieve within your creative life, yeah, absolutely, a series regular on something would be great. Also, from the point of view, I've spoken to this with some recent graduates recently. I've spoken about this with them because the nomadic element of working at the level where it's finite and it's a little bit and for not very long. Yes, it allows you to do lots of different things, but it never really allows you to kind of get your teeth into anything much. I'm hearing myself say that and thinking, God, Liz, you're sounding really ungrateful. I'm not ungrateful at all. It's just that I'm very grateful, and Walda was a brilliant experience, and she still lives with me. Of course she does. But the opportunity to really explore a character for a length of time, that is very appealing, because it's a different, you'd be using different tools in the toolbox. So all the things that you learn, all of the experience that you've accumulated, all of the things that you learned when you were training, some of that stuff I just haven't been able to utilize because I haven't had the opportunity with the roles that have come along for me. And I think for anyone who really wants to experience being an actor, I did hear what that sounded like. Don't worry, I did hear what that sounded like. But for me, that the opportunity to really get your teeth into something, to really put on the jacket of the character, but not take it off so quickly, that would be something that I would treasure.
You've talked a bit about your experience at things like Comic-Con and that. In terms of that and just generally, how has your experience been of dealing with fans? Because it's fair to say that this is a series with a massive global fandom, some of them quite well versed in
Yes.
the toings and froings. And I mean, however your character arc went and however, and I will say to the viewers, I have known and adored Liz for several years now, and know you to be charming, but quite a low-key character in some ways. But you are, just with all that in mind, you are now a recognisable part of this massive brand. How have you found your fan interactions to be more at the end of the scale of being part of a big family, or is it very sort of pedestal-y, or both?
That's a good question, and I think probably the honest answer is a bit of both. It's they are one of the really beautiful things, about the connection side of things is that they do feel it is a bit of both, because you get the Comic Cons, you're sat there at the table, the whole reason for being there is so that you can sign their things for them, and they honestly there's some beautiful things that they that they bring, you know, maps of Westeros and book covers and lots and lots of beautiful artwork that they have that they want you to sign. And some of them are very assertive and are very very well practiced and completely unfazed by who they're meeting. I mean, admittedly, it's me, it's not, you know, Kit Harington or Emilia Clarke or Jason Momoa, but nevertheless, you know, they some of them do come to you with an ease that you wouldn't normally expect for two strangers who don't know each other. And then there's the other end of the spectrum with the, you know, the beautiful humans who find it really difficult to come up to you because they feel so much about what you've been a part of. And I suppose for me that side of it, you know, when you get, and I have to admit, in my experience of that, is it tends to be the adolescents, you know, young, I'm going to say between the ages of 18 and 21. They're the ones who tend to be a bit, you know, they'll walk past the desk a few times in order to drum up the courage within themselves to come and say hello. I'm also very aware that, you know, that you know, that might not just be age related, that could be for any number of reasons. You know, Game of Thrones is a fantasy television show. It gives us as humans and as community it is a particular genre, and it will attract a particular type of personality to it. And you know, sometimes I've been very aware of that. So I have felt fortunate that my life experience has meant that I am able to be unperturbed by that, if you see what I mean. That I, you know, or at least I hope that I'm able to generate an energy of approachableness, you know, so that they don't feel in any way not able to come and have that conversation. So Wrexham was brilliant because it was my first one, and it gave me the opportunity to understand what this was in what felt like a really safe environment. But Germany, Munich, a couple of years ago now, is probably my favourite one, because things like the photo shoots, you know, quite a few people bring toy stuffed dogs. And my absolute favourite one from Munich, it was a guy I remember his name is Alex, and he came to have a photo shoot with me, and he made sure that I saw his t-shirt. He had a t-shirt made with colourful poodles with "Who Let the Dogs Out" under these colourful poodles, and he said to me, I had this t-shirt made for you for this photo. And he said, I chose poodles for you. And I was just, that to me, that was, if I never do another Comic-Con again, I'm okay with that, because Alex and the "Who Let the Dogs Out" t-shirt, perfect.
Can I use that story? Are you happy?
Of course,
for me?
yeah. Yeah.
Well, Alex, I hope you actually watch this. I hope you see this. You made an impression, and you do, as I've said in my last question. You know, live a comparatively low key life. You enjoy your family time, and you do fairly well in terms of balancing everything. How important is it, do you think, for someone who works in the performing arts to try and maintain that balance and look after their mental health as well as the health of their career?
Oh gosh, it's so important, and because it's so massively intertwined. You know, rejection is such a massive part of what an actor does. You know, and learning to live with that, especially when you, and I find that a lot of the people that I know in the industry do. I mean, you know, one in 4 adults will experience mental health issues in their lifetime. I think the inherent nature of a performer might lead them to be more susceptible to mental health issues, and it can be a really harsh industry to be working in. It really can. And if you've been knocked slightly off center, it can, you know, it can be a bit of a slippery slope. So you really do have to take care of yourself. You really do have to put your mental health at the top of your priority list, because you can't, when I say you can't do your job if you're not healthy, you can, absolutely you can. Some of the best actors, you know, and it's the same in any industry. Some of the most successful people that you know have been experiencing these issues, and have been living through them and taking good care of themselves, which is enabling them to work. But I think, particularly when you're a jobbing actor and you do have to deal with rejection on a daily basis, you do have to walk into a room and be able to hold your head high and deliver. Being as healthy as you possibly can before stepping foot in that room is really important. So you do have to do that, and you do have to work out what centers you and what balances you, and be incredibly mindful of that. Just as mindful as having good training and of keeping your training up to date and keeping in practice. It really all has to be part and parcel. I mean, that's not, I'm not saying anything new there, because I think everybody who's touched on health and being healthy, living in this particular world, in the way that this particular world is structured at this particular moment in time, there's a massive spotlight on health, and moving away from the stigmas of those things. But it's a job for every day, and you have to be able to walk into that room when you're pitching for a job, when you're going in for an audition. You are essentially pitching for a job, and it's not necessarily about how good an actor you are. I mean, it is, but as many casting directors, producers, everybody in the industry will say to you, you're only in the room because they believe that you're capable of playing the part. So you've sort of ticked that box already. The rest of it then is about you holistically, and the project, and your compatibility with. And in order to be that, I suppose what I'm trying to articulate very badly is that once you've been invited to audition, you can tick the box that goes, I am a good actor, I can act, and you can let that go. So when you get into the room, what you are doing is you are delivering what you would be like to work with. And that's the thing where I think mental health gets in the way sometimes, or can cause issues. And I'm absolutely speaking from personal experience, because I know that I have walked into rooms on days when I am not at my best, and whilst they are very understanding about that, and there's a lot of support and there's a lot of empathy for that, because we collectively, we all experience it and we're very well aware of it, we are woke to it. Nevertheless, it's a job interview, and those people have to be able to see from you that you can deliver. So if you are not at your best, and that's making you slightly withdrawn, or not allowing you to give as much as you ordinarily would, that can have a negative effect.
Yeah,
it can.
Well, we have already had a guest sort of earlier in the series who sits on the other side of the table, and who did say that, you know, two things to remember. Firstly, casting directors do not cast shows or TV series. They put lists together to put in front of directors who cast the shows. And also, yeah, that, you know, she was saying that when she is casting, she said, I'm also considering, do I want to spend, when he does theatre, do I want to spend 2-3 months of my life in the company of this person? And so yeah, I would chime. I'm sure you'd chime with me on that as well. It's you know, for anybody watching to bear that in mind too.
And on a which is why you must take care of yourself, because on a human level, it's disappointing enough not to book a job because you're wondering, you know, because you wonder, oh, you know, I forgot that line, or I didn't say that line quite right, or I didn't get the intent, I didn't nail it on that occasion, you know, thinking about your performance. But at the same time, as you know, you as having that doubt, you also have the doubt then, oh gosh, they didn't like me. Not my interpretation of the character, but me. And that's so hard. That's so hard, which is why you must take care of yourself, and you must have support and structures in place around you to be able to get you through that, because once you're aware of it, you can't become unaware of it, and then before you even step in the room, you're doubting yourself, you're second guessing yourself, and then it's a snowball effect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, I mean, you've cast shows before in the past. I have cast shows in the past. We've both sat on that side of the table, and I'm sure we'd be in agreement from, you know, what you've said as well. If you are in the room, it's because they think that you could do it. I think the two things I always take away from it is I don't often make massive character judgments about the actors themselves as people, because I do not have time to do so. They are in that room for 5-10 minutes. The only times that I ever make character judgments about actors are those who are naturally really, really lovely and have just come in and lit the room up just by how they talk to us before they even do anything. And I would say 99.9% of those people don't even realise they're doing it, because that's just how they are. And the only other people I make character judgments about are the people who come in and are incredibly rude to us. And but I have not had somebody walk across the door of an audition room where I'm chairing the panel where I have not wanted each and every one of those people to be the person I give that job to.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think most casting directors feel exactly the same way, Paddy. You know, in fact, I'm going to assume that, you know, the sort of sample of them that I have met and had conversations with and listened to the Q&As, where inevitably, you know, what the actors are asking is, what do I have to do to book a job? And the casting director's like, well, there's no pretty little packaged up answer to that for you. You know, I can't, there isn't a sound bite that I can give you that's suddenly going to make you book every job you go in for, because the reality of the situation is you're a human, and humans are messy. And, you know, those ones that you were talking about that have walked into the room and just lit the room up completely, the following day might have gone in, and because they got hassled on the bus, or it's too hot, or they had an argument with their partner before they left the house, you know, all of these things can affect how you come across. And as understanding as the industry can be about it, as understanding as every industry can be about it, I mean, when I started doing drama club, the drama club that I started with was run by an old school lambda battle axe. That's the only word that I can use to describe her. A brilliant woman and a brilliant teacher, genuinely a brilliant teacher, but absolutely no shit. And I believe that the through line of the industry is just as tough today, empathetic though it is just as tough as she was back then, and that is leave your stuff at the door. So not only as an actor do you have to be a good actor, you know, have those tools in your toolbox to be able to execute the character, and do the work on the script that you need to do, etc., etc., before you get in the room. But you also have to be a master of yourself. You have to be able to leave stuff at the door, and at certain times in life that's going to be really, really difficult to do. It is going to be really difficult to do. And you know, some days being the light in the room is the hardest thing for you to be able to be yeah. along with everything else. So the thing about balance, you know, about having everything, about being able to have everything and to be able to juggle it, it's a lot. It is a lot. So a big skill as an actor to learn is how to center yourself and balance yourself so that you can take all the external away from you when you walk into that room, so that you can be the light and they can feel that you are. It feels wrong to say that you are a good person, because you are a good person. Of course you're a good person. You know, even if you're having a bad day, you're a good person, and clearly a half decent actor. Otherwise you wouldn't be in the room. As you've said, Paddy, time. You know, they don't have time to give you breathing space. So for actors, that ability to work at pace and that a bit, which is absolutely, I'm just repeating myself now, which is why you must take care of your mental health, because you can't work at pace and you can't light up a room if you haven't done that work on yourself.
I would say, having had people who I often have, maybe I have gone on to work with them, maybe I haven't, but people who come into audition in front of me who have been truly lovely people having a bad day, you do normally, even if they are in the middle of it, get a nugget of what they would be like if that layer was taken away. Yeah, it's the sort of conversation I could go on and have if we were down the pub, and we're not having to film this, and you know, we can name names. You've also worked as a director and a producer and as an agent's assistant. Do you think, having ensured that you have experience in the engine room of the business of entertainment, helps you as a performer? And do you have a particular yearning to do more of some of these off stage or off camera jobs?
Yeah, I'm so incredibly grateful for every experience that I've been able to have, and certainly so the very first agent that I got was Actorum, which is a cooperative agency founded by the likes of Julie Walters et al.
You are the second Actorum person in this series, actually. Also.
Oh, really? Yeah. Who's the first?
The first one is that he's quite new to it, because he's only just fairly fresh out of the box. So yeah, a chap called Mark Zayat, who's also the director of Ethereal Theatre. So those of you watching, go back and have a look at him as well. Sorry, I interrupted you. Please carry on.
No, not at all, my darling. Yeah, so Actorum, and it was that was absolutely the right thing for me. So me as a person, my value system says that a cooperative is the way to go, and I do genuinely believe that I found my soulmate in an agent that is Joanna Hull, because yes, I absolutely credit, I wouldn't have had anywhere near the career that I did have if it hadn't been for Actorum, and if it hadn't been for Jo, particularly. yeah, I'm very grateful to have been afforded the opportunity to have lived that creative life and to have experienced all of those things. I think the really honest answer to this question is I'm probably at a juncture in my life and also in my creative life where I actually don't know. I don't know what is next. I don't know what is coming next. And I don't know what that means or how really to answer the question because I want everything. I want more of everything, and at the same time I know that I'm not ready for more of everything yet. So
more of everything, but just not right now.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Yes, more of everything, not right now. Yes. I mean, I am a great believer in, well, I would be, given the way my life has gone, given the way, you know, because in my head, in the movie of my life, Paddy, we were talking about movies, in the movie of my life, I badgered that Lander battle axe into taking me on early because I knew at 6 years old, I knew this was me. I made her teach me. I was successful in drama competition. I was successful in youth theatre productions. And then in the movie of my life, the thing that happens next is that I managed to convince my parents that it's okay to let me go down the drama route and take a BTEC national diploma in performing arts and then potentially go on to university or potentially just start working. Let's pretend that I do my BTEC national diploma and that I actually do listen to my mother's advice and go and get a degree and then possibly even a master's, and then, you know, apply to the drama schools like I did, and when I get in, actually have the money to be able to go. in the movie of my life, that's how it worked out, and I was wildly successful, and it was just a whole other life. But that's the movie of my life and a wonderful fantasy. In reality, what happened was I worked really hard. I got lost a little bit in, you know, life got in the way. I got lost a little bit. I came back to it. I had a little bit of success, and now I'm in a period of downtime again, a period of consideration. And given everything that's going on right now with the industry, I mean, the industry has changed massively since I started working professionally officially in 2010. You know, 2020 is my 10-year anniversary of working in the industry professionally, and it's such a wildly different landscape to the one that I started in. And as a result of that, rather, I sort of feel like a pause button has been hit. And I have done that partly myself because of life things going on. I've needed to press the pause button on it. But I also think the industry itself, there's a bit of a pause. Well, I know there is a very big pause happening right now. And what that landscape is going to look like in the future, and where my place in it might be, is very much a philosophical question at this moment in time. There is no way of knowing at this moment in time how that's going to go.
Bearing all that in mind, and looking at it hypothetically, if you like, what do you want to achieve that you haven't achieved yet? It doesn't have to just be work. So, yeah.
Yeah, the answer to that question is a series regular. That's so to experience that side of working in the industry, and to a lead role.
And whether in life or career, what would you say your proudest achievement is?
Having one, full stop. Genuinely, because on paper, how did that happen? I have no connections. I didn't classically train. In moments I have terrible mental health. So being that person who walks into the room and lights it up is not something that I necessarily have a guarantee of. And then I moved out of London. So, genuinely, my absolute proudest thing is that I have one. Yes, I have one.
Are you happier out of London?
Yes, I am. It's always a trade-off, Paddy. It's always a trade-off, and it would be wrong of me to say moving out of London is the reason that my career slowed down, or I haven't had as much opportunity as I would have liked, or it's possible from a particular perspective, because of the amount of time that I'd spent in London and because of knowing the fringe in London better, it's possible that connections in London would have kept me working in theatre, in fringe theatre, more than has happened up here. I have tried to open some doors up here for myself. I've tried to build a network, but I have found it much harder. Whether that's because I'm older, whether that's because it's really established up here, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure why, but it just hasn't been as easy as London, from my perspective, as London was. But of course I was different then. And so from that perspective, possibly there have been some elements of moving out of London that have made things more of a challenge, but everything else, all the other life stuff, yes, much improved.
And what keeps you going?
Oh, that little 6-year-old who just knew. I know that sounds very very Mr. Freud. But yeah, genuinely, again, with some recent graduates talking about this particular subject, they didn't ask me quite as directly as that, what keeps you going, but it did come up. And ultimately, whether I am successful or not, or conventionally so, the reality is that this is who I am. This is such an integral part of me that it won't ever not be a part of my life. Yeah. What form that takes, I don't know, and I'm so sorry to be completely different to the rest of the world and its infrastructure that says to you that you must know where you're going, and you must have goals, and you must have things that you aspire to, and you must be tenacious and make your own luck. Make your own opportunity. Well, I understand that. I do understand that. And perhaps it's just who I am at this particular moment in time. But I'm very happy with what I've achieved. And I'm very happy with, or rather, I'm very secure in the knowledge that it is part of who I am. And that when opportunities come my way that are right for me, I will meet them. I will always have an appetite for it, if you know what I mean. That appetite just might not be conventionally what it's supposed to be, if you know what if that makes any sense at all.
Indeed.
Probably doesn't.
No, it makes perfect sense. To use a phrase that it seemed that I use at the start of, because I'm having to introduce it to each guest, so apologies to viewers for having to listen to it again. One of the casualties of 2020 was the late James Lipton, founder of Inside the Actors Studio, who I know you adored, Liz. In honour of him, I have stolen, and we do give special thanks to his estate at the end of every episode, I've stolen the 10 questions that he asked every guest at the end of each interview before he'd open to the floor. So let's get
Paddy, you literally bucket list item. You are helping me tick it off.
What is your favourite word?
Bollocks.
And what's your least favourite word?
Girth.
What turns you on?
So in my mind, this is the dog. Hello, puppy. So the first thing in my mind there was love, but I realised that's what turns you on. Love. Yes, that the word that came into my head was love. Love is the thing that turns me on, but I don't necessarily mean it in a sexy way. I mean, I do mean it in a sexy way, but I don't mean it in a sexy way. I just mean genuinely, human capacity for love.
And what turns you off?
Human capacity for destruction. Being a twat.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh, there are so many. I had to choose one. Sound or noise do I love? Oh, okay. So in my mind there, so you say what sound or noise do you love, and in my mind I'm like, the ocean, my family laughing, the dog barking, the kitten trilling. Like there's too many. There's too many. There are so many sounds that I love.
The noises of your personal life. Is that right?
Oh yes. Let's go with that. Yes, everyday hubbub.
And what sound or noise do you hate?
Sirens, like loud, high-pitched, unnecessary, anxiety-inducing sirens.
What is your favourite swear word?
Cunt.
Beautifully delivered. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, the reason that I have my own is because all of them want to do all of them. Yes, genuinely, yeah, all of them. I mean, a recent favourite, I've been looking at forestry. Don't know what to have.
Even though you have said all of them, what profession would you absolutely not ever want to do?
Actually, yes. So I've said all of them except counsellor. and llama farmer. Ugh.
That's counsellor as psychotherapist counsellor, not as in local politician.
Oh yes, I mean I'm not sure that I would like local politician. In fact, I'm absolutely positive that I wouldn't like local politician. But yes, I mean yes, counsellor as in yes, psychologist. Yeah, llama farmer.
But my mother will take the llama farmer role off you. She'd love to be a llama farmer.
No, llamas are evil. No, there should be no llama farmers because there should be no llamas. No. Have you not seen their faces? They are just waiting. But I'm almost positive that 2020 has been directly brought about by the llamas on purpose.
Does that antipathy extend to alpacas as well, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't have that, Liz. But you know,
no, they're the same. They're the same. 2020 is their fault.
And soft, and they don't spit as much.
It doesn't matter if they're small. Small things are often more vicious than large things.
Question 10. If you, when your time comes, whatever you may or may not believe in life, if you wake up the far end of it and find heaven does exist, what would you like to hear said to you on arrival?
It's all right. You can have another go.
Had a few questions sent in. Joe from Stockport asks, now we have spoken about this project before. You got to work with some of our most wonderful older actors in Cockneys vs Zombies, several of whom, alas, now no longer with us. If it's not too indiscreet, who was the most fun to work with? And including that project, but just generally in acting, who do you look up to most?
Oh gosh. So Cockneys versus Zombies, yeah, it was an absolute stellar cast. I know we've already spoken about Honor, and I think everybody probably tell how much I adored her. But getting to work with Richard Bryars, you know, that again from my childhood, you know, the sitcoms that I grew up, you know, watching in my house. So getting the opportunity to work opposite Richard Bryars was really very special for me. And I loved that project from the second I saw that I had been put up to, you know, as an option for Natasha the nurse, right through to finishing, you know, right through to rapping. It was a really wonderful experience. And in general, who do I look up to? There are so many, aren't there? There are just so many that one could choose from. I think so. One of the things that they're always asking you when you're training is, you know, whose career would you like? And for me, if I was going to have somebody else's career, then I think I would go for Toni Collette. I think she I think has got the right balance of stuff. I'm not sure I could do what she does or do it quite as well as she does it. I think I would miss the comedy element. Although having said that, I've just watched Knives Out, and I thought she was very funny in an incredibly subtle way.
I think this is a question from Aisha in South London, and so I apologise in advance, Aisha, if your question has been foreshadowed earlier. But she asked, do you have a good relationship with dogs, or are you traumatised forever?
They were scary dogs. They were proper security dogs. They were Italian Mastiffs. They were beautiful creatures, but we were under very strict instructions. Don't touch the dog, don't look at the dog, don't breathe near the dog, try if you can not to think about the dog, pretend the dog isn't here. Because if your energy shifts in slightly the wrong way, it's going to have your face off. So yeah,
Always heartening to be given instruction like that, isn't
it? yes indeed, because of course, there we were, even and I going, doggies. No, these are not doggies, these are dogs.
Oh dear. But I think the fact that you have one there with you is probably a sign enough that you've gotten past that storyline.
Yes.
Susie in Minnesota asks if you are still available for conventions, and will we see you at any across the pond?
Oh well, yes, absolutely, of course. One of the things about being part of something like Game of Thrones is that I think you do have a responsibility to the fan base to be available. And yes, absolutely. Should I be asked, I would very much like to have the experience of going over to America. But I do, also recognise at the same time that now that the show is over, some of the more prevalent cast, the main cast, are likely to be available to the fan base, and I think it's only right that the fan base get to interact with them. I like the fact that Walda is a bit niche, and yes, there is a part of me that hopes that I get wheeled out for the 10th anniversary and the 20th anniversary, and because yes, I certainly do enjoy talking to the fans. And yeah, if that is wanted, then absolutely.
I'm conscious of the fact that this may not get included, but in case it does, it all depends on the answer. I am personally aware of an occasion shortly after one time when the two of us met up, where you were going in not as a booked guest, but going to a local convention, and you had a bet with your husband that no one would recognise you, and that whoever lost would have to buy dinner. Who won?
I did.
You did. You got through an hour without being... Well, fan base, shame on you.
Even better is that London Comic Con, I went to the MCM one, the one at the Excel Centre. We took our nephew there as just for as a birthday gift. He came down to London, he stayed with us, we took him, and I managed to walk around that convention for hours with not even one double take occurred. And then there was the most, and this is the thing about fan bases, they really are, they're so dedicated and they're so creative. I've got pictures of me with a chap dressed as Jon Snow and a woman dressed as Daenerys with a scale dragon on her shoulder, and I've got a picture of me standing between the pair of them because they looked wonderful. Honestly, they've done such a brilliant job of their costumes. I've got a picture of me standing between them. They didn't have a one assumes that when you're dressed like that, you are an uber fan.
Yeah.
Completely understand that they're uber fans of Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, but I'm standing in the middle of them, and just nothing.
Did you? And I forgot. Knowing you as I do, I feel you probably didn't let them in on the joke either, did you? Or did you say to them?
No.
No.
No. No. Because then you're getting into the territory of, do you know who I am?
Who I am.
And the answer to that is not do I know, but do I care? And being an actor with fragile ego, I don't. No, thank you very much. No, but also that it's yes. I suppose from one perspective, it's a little bit mean that I do take a sort of dark glee from being able to insert myself in that way. But at the same time, they may very well not care at all that it was me and that I was there.
I wonder what. Of course, it was you having the pictures taken. I wonder what would have happened if they'd had a picture of that as well, and then somebody had pointed that out to them. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I am going to share this on when this gets published. I will share the link on a few Game of Thrones fan sites. If you were those people, now you know. Maybe if you'd brought the dog with you.
That's what I should have done. Admittedly, my sister-in-law did say to me, well, it's no, like, you have to go, you have to put a wig on. You have to put a long dark wig on, because I've got short hair, and quite often I'm not completely brunette. So yeah, I suppose from that point of view, I suspect that there are things that I could do to help them along with it, but
why?
Well, exactly. That sort of ruins my fun. I quite that dark glee of being able to walk around and having the anonymity still, even with the uber fans.
I think it was Daniel Radcliffe once spent an entire day at Comic-Con, but he dressed up in a full-body Spider-Man morph suit, and no one had a clue. Going around posing for photographs of people. Finally, Sunil in Birmingham asks, if you were offered the chance to play any role of your choice at all, is there one that you would pick?
Which is just like any
anything
role
established at all? Yeah, theatre, whatever. I mean, I suppose it's quite a. Sorry, Sunil, but it is a slightly broad question, that, and we're talking about lots of different media here. I mean, I think it's easier to pick that one if it's a theatre role, really, isn't it? Because it's more likely to be revived. Or is there a type of character that you would like to play? Or is there something that other than, obviously, as we've said, a series regular, but is there something you want to portray?
Guilty pleasure, complete and utter guilty pleasure. I love action films. I do. They're my go-to. So something like Taken is yeah. I mean, yeah.
What, you want to be the female Liam Neeson, basically? Is that in Taken?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much from that perspective, anything Charlize Theron can do, I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something in action, which is quite subversive, given that I'm 5'6" and portly. Should we say portly? not exactly your conventional action hero.
I've always preferred, when describing myself, the phrase Rubenesque, actually. But
Rubenesque. I am very definitely very definitely Rubenesque. Yes, I know what you mean. But then I think to myself, yeah, come on, I can totally do it. I can totally do it. Well, yes. From a theatre point of view, oh, there's so much. There's oh my goodness, there's so much. Lady M springs to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, there are so many Yeah, yeah. The thing that springs to mind is Lady M. She made a big impression on me in my youth, and I think she'll always stay with me. In that sense. Trying to think of plays. Oh, there's so many. There's so many that I love, and so many roles that I would that I would love to take. I suppose this sort of feeds into what I say about I'll take it as it comes, because that has always been my way and always will be my way. It doesn't mean that I don't have ambition. It doesn't mean that I don't have aspiration. It just means that I am comfortable in the knowledge that this is who I am, and then whatever comes my way is very welcome and very sustaining.
On which note, Elizabeth Webster, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. That was really good fun.